and welcome back to the ADHD-Friendly podcast. I'm Patty Blinderman. I'm a professionally certified ADHD coach with over 10 years experience, and my passion is finding ways to create more ease in my life with ADHD-friendly tips, tools, and resources, and I bring them here and share them with you in the hopes that they do the same in your life. Today, I'm going to be sharing a knitting celebration, one of my favorite things to celebrate. And then I've got an ADHD-friendly tip on your past self. We talk a lot about how to support your future self, and I'm just going to dive a little bit into the past to see how we can use our past selves to support ourselves today. And then our topic for today is body doubling. So I'm going to be doing a deeper dive into what it is and some examples of how you might explore using it to support yourself to do things with a little bit more ease. And then, of course, at the end, when I wrap up, I will be sharing some highlights of what's coming up in the next episode of ADHD Friendly. But let's start, as we always do, with a celebration. So this week, I am celebrating that I finished knitting a red scarf that I made for my sister. And I used urgency to get it done. I actually bought the yarn, at least 2 years ago. She picked out the yarn, she picked out the pattern she wanted me to make. But the thing that she wanted me to make was a pattern that was hard for me to follow, and I just couldn't seem to bring myself to start it. And when she was visiting over Thanksgiving, she picked yarn that she still liked, the red yarn that she had picked out, and she saw a scarf I'd made for one of my kids, and she said that she really liked that style. Would I just use the yarn to make a red scarf for her? And that felt so much easier, and it just immediately created energy for me to go ahead and do it. And so I used the urgency of wanting to get it done before one of my kids was traveling to go visit her in January. So it took me about 6 weeks, and it was a really boring pattern. It was all red, and it was just like a tube scarf. So I just knitted in the round over and over and over and over. It took me about 27 hours in total. Not a very fast knitter. If you're a knitter and you're listening to it, you might be like, that sounds like a long time. But I finished it. So I have a picture of the finished scarf, even with the little fringe at the end. And it just had a little color variation, a little darker red, but that was it. It was just red all the time. And then she sent me a picture of herself wearing it, and hopefully she'll be okay with me sharing it. I did not ask. Okay, so that's my celebration that I got it to her. She loved it. And I no longer have the red yarn sitting here kind of draining my energy as something that I started, but I didn't finish. And I found a way to finish it by just adjusting the expectation of what I was going to use it for. So now on to ADHD-friendly tip that I'm calling honoring your past self. And this is actually inspired by a client who told me, this was him speaking. He said, I owe it to my past self to follow the plan I created. And that was a really profound moment, because we were reflecting on a detailed routine they had made for themselves to follow in the mornings. And we meet each week, and the following week when he came to a session, he hadn't tried it. And so, being a coach, I was curious and asked, what got in the way of trying it out? Because it sounded like you were really excited about it last week. And he said, it just wasn't something specific. It just, really just didn't happen. And I said, well, do we need to tweak something? What would make it easier to try it this week? He said, no, it really, when we reviewed it, he was like, I really think this is it. I think it's going to work. I really want to try it. And I owe it to my past self to honor the time and the effort and the thought that went into it to at least try it before we tweak it. And so after we talked it through, it really felt like that was the way forward. And he had a lot of energy to at least try it out, because he had put so much time and thought and energy into it. And I thought, what an honoring way to approach something when he hadn't tried it yet. So it's like, no, I can't change it. I haven't tried it. I want to give it a try. So he did. And so he went that week and he tried it out, and he came back the following week, and it really worked overall pretty much the way he thought it would. And he really wanted to celebrate that he went back and used the original routine, the way that he had laid it out, instead of kind of assuming that there was something that wasn't going to work when he hadn't even tried it yet. So I love that idea that I just wanted to highlight here of honoring your past self, and just invite you, if this resonates for you, to explore, excuse me, is there something that your past self has done? Maybe a decision you've made or structure you've put in place that you've fallen off of. One of my mentor coaches' favorite sayings that I use a lot in my coaching sessions is, we have great systems until we don't. So if a system has fallen off, it may not mean it's broken. It may just mean it needs to be reinvigorated or resparkleized, something to make it interesting again. So if there's something your past self has done that would support yourself today or in the future, I just invite you to honor that past self and experiment with putting things back in place, or just tweaking a little bit of what you already know worked for you to make it continue to work for you today. All right. So today we are going to be talking about our main topic of body doubling. A lot of people have heard about this, especially over the pandemic, when it wasn't a very common phrase until, except in like movies, like stunt double kind of things. But body doubling, I'm going to give you a quick definition from Psych Central that I really like because it's just clean and simple. It says body doubling is having another person around while you work on a task that they don't have to assist doing. So it's just having somebody else there. They might be helping you, but that's not necessary at all. It's just them simply being present can help us to start. It helps hold our focus. It can help us to finish things that we have a hard time finishing. So in the last episode, we talked about that implementer finisher model, that starter finisher. Sometimes we can be good starters, but really struggle to finish. Having a body double can really help not only get started, but sustain our focus and even get things to be completed, where that might be something that we would get distracted and move away from the task that we were doing without the help of a body double. So I'm going to break down some examples throughout my life, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more details of what you might want to consider if a body double might be something for you to put in place at certain times to get things done with a little bit more ease. So the first place I'm going to start is when I was a child. Now, I had never heard the term body double until I started my coach training. But what I know is I've used them my entire life. And some examples are, when I was a kid, my sister and I, the one I made the scarf for, used to clean our rooms at the same time. So instead of me just going and trying to clean my room, we would both clean out our rooms, move everything out into the hallway and kind of sort everything out and then put it back in. And it felt like a joint project instead of just me doing it alone. And that always felt kind of magical to me, because I remember my room would get really messy and it was just overwhelming to think about cleaning it. And that always worked for me. I never really asked her, how it worked for her, but my hunch is it worked the same way. But I knew if we cleaned our rooms at the same time, my room would get clean. So whenever that option was available, I used it. I also knew it was easier for me if, like, after dinner, we had different chores, and setting the table kind of had an urgency because we were going to eat. But if I had to clear the table or do the dishes, it would always help me if the person that was doing either the clearing or the dishes was there at the same time. So if I just had to clear the table and the person doing the dishes would come in and do the dishes after I finished clearing, it was really hard for me to clear the table or to really kind of stay in there through putting away like the salad dressing and wrapping up the leftovers and that kind of thing. But if the person was there washing the dishes while I was clearing the table, I could clear the table with a lot more ease. And then when I was an adult, when I am an adult, back when I was an adult, but when I became an adult, I remember when we bought our first house, and the kitchen had just a terrible color, and I wanted to paint it for years, but I'd never painted a room before. And so I was really overwhelmed by it. I had bought paint, I had all the supplies, and I just kept dragging my feet. And finally, I had a friend over who was just hanging out with me and talking. And I'd had taped everything and just, had the tape up for months and never got around to painting it. And she was like, why aren't you I noticed, that this has been up. Why aren't you painting? Have you picked your colors? And I was like, yeah, I just can't seem to get started. She's like, well, if you want to do it while we're talking. And it was just like a really simple thing, like, oh, well, why not? And I just got the paint out and just started painting while we were talking. And it just went so fast. It really, really astounded me that I was able to paint without minding it at all. And I just noticed, as long as I had somebody there to talk with me, it just distracted my brain from focusing on how much I didn't want to do it. And I just did it. So it created this partnership because I wanted to get it done while she was there. And so I definitely, stayed focused instead of stopping and sitting and talking with her. And it just really amazed me how easy it was. I've even used this for that horrible task of mailing packages. If I'm running errands with someone else, I will ask permission if there's something I do need to mail. I was like, would it be possible for us to stop by the post office? Because if I have somebody else with me, I still don't want to do it. I still have low energy for it, but I can do it if somebody else is with me instead of just me going on my own. So that's another example of a body double. For family examples, with my kids, again, when they tried to clean their rooms, I really understood how hard it was for them. And I would sit in the room and, either like write out cards or type on my computer or read a book. I didn't have to be helping. I just had to be in there with them while they were cleaning their room. And even today, 2 of my adult kids who live in the same place in North Carolina will meet at a coffee shop once a week. And my daughter, who's a teacher, she's working on her national boards, and she'll work on her national boards. And my son is a college student, and he'll go and work on, whatever he's studying or assignment he's working on. And it's just, again, it's another way to think about body doubling. All these different places we can really tap into. I think of it as borrowing energy of another person. Even though that's not like the definition, it's accountability. It has a lot of elements that work. And even in my business, often with clients, we'll body double during sessions for them to go ahead and make a phone call to schedule an appointment or to write out an email. A lot of times with college students, if they missed something or they weren't clear, I was like, well, what would work for you to get the information you need? They're like, well, it would help if I went ahead and wrote to the professor. Let me go ahead and do that now. And they'll do it. So instead of putting it on the list and making a note to do it later and setting a reminder, they'll just go ahead and do it and get it checked off. So that's another example of body doubling with students. And then in my personal owner's manual group, once a month, we meet for people who have started their personal owner's manuals. And at the end of that time, I try to offer a 30-minute block that we body double. And the intention is, this is the time for you to take whatever you're excited about doing with your POM and adding it to your POM after our monthly session, because I always cover a new topic. So it creates hopefully some interest or some, like, oh, I want to go ahead and do that now while I'm thinking about it. So I built that time in to body double right then and there, instead of, again, trying to remember to come back and do it at another time. So it's keeping up with that plan to keep adding to your personal owner's manual. So anyone can benefit from a body double, but people with ADHD, it's especially helpful for. And so here are the benefits according to Psych Central. As I mentioned before, improved accountability. It's not just you trying to do it, you're doing it with somebody else that you have partnered with. So you're there to support them and they're there to support you. So they might be working on something of their own, or they might be there literally just because you asked for somebody to support you as a body double. But it's honoring their time and their commitment as that partner, right? That body double person to be there with you. It creates incentive to complete tasks, like my example of the painting the kitchen. I really wanted to get it done while they were there because it was so hard for me to start. I knew once they were gone, my energy would not be the same as it was when I was there. Even though I didn't understand what a body double was, I knew I needed them there. It creates more incentive and motivation, absolutely. And this is another one that I really wanted to highlight because it can be really positively impactful. It's one of the benefits listed is that it reduces the isolation of the person with ADHD, because you're literally asking for a connection point for somebody to meet with you either in person or virtually. I've done this over phone calls. I've done it over Zoom. I've done body double sessions over FaceTime. It's a time that you're both coming together so that you can get something done. So it's connecting. It can be a way of connecting with somebody outside of yourself. So I wanted to share some other examples with just some pictures I pulled to kind of highlight how they can be used. And again, I just invite you to explore. Maybe there's something that's already coming up for you, like, oh my gosh, I could use a body double to finish blank. So sometimes you don't need to specifically schedule a time with someone else to be a body double. It's putting yourself in an environment that serves as that body double. And my example here is like a library. So I'm just holding up again, if you're listening to this, I'm holding up a picture of people not studying together, not talking together. They're sitting at separate tables, but they're in an environment that creates with ease or more ease the task you're trying to do. So if you're trying to study or read, a library is a great place to go because people in there are inherently quiet and typically reading or doing work. So it's creating that environment for you instead of you trying to create the environment to get started on your own. Another example of that would be like a coffee shop, like I shared with my daughter and my son do. And again, you can go with other people or you can just go sit in a coffee shop and borrow that energy of the people in the room. So I've done this lots of times myself where I'll just go with my laptop and sit and just use the energy of being in the coffee shop. It changes up the environment and it creates an atmosphere that I can work more easily in. Another example is exercise. So again, you might just pay for a class or go to the gym, and being in that environment is going to allow you to exercise more easily. That's absolutely like a terrible thing for me. I have never really done well with gyms. I've had memberships countless times over the years and really know myself enough now to know a group course is not the way for me to get that accountability. But if that works for you and there's, that option is available to you, it can be a really great way just to put yourself in that environment. When you're there, everybody else is doing it, so you're going to do it too. So it just makes it easier for you to do that. An example that a lot of times people don't think about is reading. So if you're trying to read more, going to a library to specifically read, putting away any distracting devices can help. Or even like when my kids were smaller, we always had reading time because I knew if I was asking them to read, but the TV was on, that was like a non-starter. There was no way. But if everybody else was reading, it just kind of lends itself that you're going to pick up a book and read if more people are reading around you. So thinking about, what would you do if you're trying to read more? What environment would you need to do that? And it might be like I've done, join a book club or sit where other people are reading, or even sitting with, like I have college students who need to read. So they'll create plans of marking, where they're going to read to so they know where they're going to stop. So they are asking their brain to focus on a smaller chunk and, intentionally going and sitting and telling somebody, I'm going to be reading this while you're doing that. And they'll just sit and read. So it's like using that structure to even just read. Or maybe chores around the house, like I shared with my my example after dinner doing dishes. If there's more people doing the chores with you, it's the environment that's pulling you in. So it's like that sense of group accountability, the body doubling. So if there's more than one person cleaning, it can be like, okay, you clean this, I'm going to clean this. We're both doing it at the same time. And my kind of different example of that came up when I was thinking about this is, I'm just going to hold up a picture of a lawn being mowed. When I first paid for somebody to mow my lawn, we were getting ready to sell a house and we hired a lawn company. My husband had always cut the lawn before that, but we needed it cut really consistently, and it was spring and it was growing, really, really fast and needed to be cut and edged and cleaned up each week really nicely so that we could sell our house. And so we had a company come to mow the lawn, and I was so aware when they arrived, I could hear the lawnmower, and it felt like such a luxury that at that time, I remember being really uncomfortable sitting while somebody was mowing my lawn. So I found that what I did was I used the time that they were mowing the lawn to do laundry, like to fold laundry or to do dishes or to clean something. And my commitment was I will only commit to doing this as long as the lawnmower is still outside doing the lawn. And, they came in a group of people. So like it was done really quickly, I would say within like 30 or 40 minutes. But for those 30 or 40 minutes, I used them as a body double to get something done because it felt like I could, I couldn't just sit, I needed to be productive. Somebody's cutting my lawn, I should be doing something. And now that doesn't hold the same accountability for me, but at the time it really did, and it really worked. And another example, and this comes up again with, I have a number of clients, and this might resonate with you if you have ADHD brain wiring, who forget to eat and, or kind of like need to set alarms or different prompts to remind them. And it can be a great example of a body double. If you make a commitment to meet somebody for lunch or to, plan to have a break at a certain time, that it's literally prompting you either to have something to eat or even to eat healthy food. So you're intentionally partnering with somebody to check in and see how it's going so that you have that body double that you're working with to help pull you into remembering to eat more or just remembering to eat more of the food that you want to eat. So you're using that body double accountability. So it's not all you trying to do it, it's partnering with that body double intention to make it easier. So I just have a little picture of like two girlfriends meeting and, sharing a healthy meal. Again, if it can help to remind you of your intention to eat more, it can help to, just have that body double in place to make it easier. Some other resources besides putting yourself in an environment outside of the house or partnering with someone to body double with, there's a couple of other resources I wanted to share. This first one I have tried myself. It's been a few years, but I tried the free version. It's called focusmate.com, FOCUSMATE.com. It is free for 3 sessions a week. Every single week, you can choose 25, 50, or 75-minute sessions. And as long as you meet no more than 3 times a week, it is free forever, is what their website says. So I've tried their free version. You're paired with another member. They do have 99% of their bookings that get matched. So let's say I pick 2:00 for a body double session. 99% of the time, somebody else is going to show up at 2:00. So it has pretty good reliability, especially for something that's free. And the structure is that you do have your camera turned on, you have to have your video on, and you have to be visible the entire time, but you're not to be talking during the session. It's pretty specific. The structure is you say hi at the beginning of the session, you declare what you're going to be doing. So it might be like, I'm working on my taxes, and they tell you what they're going to be working on, and then you do not talk. You can mute so that you're not distracted if they're making noises in the background, but you keep your video on, and then at the end of the session, you say goodbye. And that's it. You're not chit-chatting. If you want to have more than 3 sessions a week, it's $9.99 a month for unlimited sessions. So I just want to highlight that one. I did try it a few years ago and found it helpful. So just a free resource. If you don't have somebody that you can ask to body double with you, and it would be easier just to, kind of outsource it and go onto a platform that is going to allow you to just video call with somebody in there, that's another member. That might be something to check out. Another one that I have not tried, but I've had a couple of clients share this with me. So I'll share it here in case you want to check this one out. It's called focused.space.com. So FOCUSED.SPACE.com. This one is $59 a month. It includes a daily wake-up call, 15 minutes. I think that's Monday through Friday. And then it includes 90-minute community work sessions 3 times a day, and then personalized check-ins. So you can kind of look at the 90-minute sessions are based on your time zone, but you can pick another time zone if you do the math. So you can pretty much find a time pretty much anytime during the day. They're 90 minutes. And because you're paying for it, it's always run. So you don't have to worry about, and there's someone there that's moderating the time. So $59 for that one if you want to check it out and see if that might be something, if you need something a little bit more structured. And then if you want to experiment using body doubling, if this concept interests you, or if you've used it in the past, but you'd like to kind of more intentionally use it more purposefully going forward, keep in mind that not all body doubles are a good fit. So think about what the task is and match the body double with the task. For example, if the person that you're thinking about asking to body double, if you have any resistance about asking them, or if you feel like that person might judge you or pressure you in some way, that's not a good fit for a body double. It needs to be somebody that is pulling you into doing it instead of feeling like there's going to be some resistance. A little accountability that, creates urgency is okay, but if it's overwhelming, if you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to be like, why do you need me to do that? Any judgment whatsoever can shut us down. So that's not a good fit. Also, if the body double isn't somebody that would hold you accountable enough, you need more accountability. So maybe they don't, they're like, yeah, sure, I'll be there, but then they really want to chit chat. and they're not really partnering with you to allow you to, let's say you're trying to study something or read, and they're, kind of like, all right, how much longer are you going to be? Are you almost done? Are you still reading that same thing? And it's really getting in the way of what you're trying to do. That's not a good fit. Or if you feel embarrassed or inadequate. So again, if you're asking for a body double and somebody might not understand the need for that, and you would feel embarrassed to ask for it, that's not a good fit for you. And then again, look for environments that give you this structure instead of trying to create it, like a coffee shop or a gym or a library. And if there's other body double tips that you have that I haven't highlighted here, something that's worked for you that you'd like to share with other listeners for this podcast, please go to my YouTube channel, ADHD-Friendly Podcast, and post a comment. This is episode number 69. Or you can reach out via email. My email is Patty, Patty, at addpositivefocus.com. That's addpositivefocus.com. All right. So to recap, I shared at the top of the episode a knitting celebration that I finished the red scarf for my sister and she liked it. Ding, ding, ding. Yay. And then I shared an ADHD-friendly tip to honor your past self. So again, if that was something that resonated with you, where did you in the past either make a decision or create structure that would serve you today? And what would you need to do to reconnect to it so that you can honor the time, energy, effort of your past self today? And then our topic for today was body doubling and strategies to implement a body double, so that when you think about a body double, it's where could you use that to support yourself to do something with more ease, so you can start more easily, stay focused, and get it checked off with more ease. And then next time in our next episode of ADHD Friendly, it's a special 10 episode. It'll be episode 70. And that means it is a focus on personal owner's manuals. The special 10 episodes are always focused on POMs. And for this special 10 POM episode, I'm going to be talking about fun and how to create a fun menu. Talked about some other menus over the different episodes of ADHD Friendly, but this is going to be a fun menu. So that's it for this episode. Remember, as always, take what works for you, leave what doesn't. And if you like this, please subscribe or follow and share this episode with someone else, friends, family, relatives, anybody that could benefit from the information shared here. And if you haven't started your personal owner's manual, I invite you to check out my website, ADHDfriendly.com, for tons of resources on how to start a POM. A lot of free things in there to support you to start yours. There's also some courses and some groups, if that would be something that you would need to start yours. Until next time, tally ho.